Hi, I'm Kyle.
I'm Josh.
This is Two Guys, One Car.
Welcome to our car.
Dude, it starts with Two Guys, One Car. That's the name. It should start
It's
with
welcome
the
to our car.
name. No, but it has to start with Two Guys, One Car because that's the name of the thing.
Just get in the back seat.
Right along with us.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Two Guys, One Car podcast. Today we are going to be topical, no guest. We're going to start off with childhood dreams.
Eats. We haven't even talked about this at all prior to this. So it'd be cool to get into it. And you kind of just brought up the topic yesterday? No, the day before that.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I think the idea for me came into my head because kids are so curious. I was talking with Pat the other day and he was watching I think it was his nephew or something, just play with this dummy and hold the dummy in his hands and just look at it. And these are things that as human adults we just never do. So I think there's a lot to be learned from kids, the way they figure things out.
Yeah.
And childhood dreams it's at a point where no one tells you you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You just come up with this dream and desire to do something, and you've had nobody tell you you're not going to be able to do that yet. So it's just full confidence, and I think there's a lot to be pulled from that. So I'm excited to explore that.
When you mentioned the topic the other day, I thought of it in a few ways. This is the only thought I've probably actually put into it before we've now sat here and started talking about it. But childhood dreams, I feel there's levels of it across time. So when you're 5, 6, 7, that sort of period, you have a dream, and then as you get into just before you turn 13, the back end of primary school, you have a different dream, and then through high school, even though you're a teenager, you're still a child, you still have dreams, and there's so many different aspects across those 3 stages that are influential. I feel the thing that happens across those stages though is we're gaining more and more independence and more responsibility. I think something I'll talk about a lot is probably the fact that those childhood dreams sometimes actually just diminish because of the responsibility you're gaining over time. As you get into your high school years, you're starting to, maybe cook your own food, you're making your own way to school, you need to start thinking about your career choices and stuff like that. People are telling you all these things, so you actually therefore just put those childhood dreams aside because you've now got limitations.
I think the limitations are perceptions.
Definitely. I'm also alluding to that too. That's what I mean by by limitations. I mean what people are telling you that you're supposed to be doing.
For sure. And also, it's one thing to dream, and when you want to be an astronaut as a kid, you can dream what it would be like to be in space. You have almost the vision of the product, the end goal, but what you don't envision is the whole journey to get there for most people. So I think where a lot of people kind of lack out on fulfilling their childhood dreams is obviously desires will change, but if you do desire to fulfill that dream, when you get to an age where you can actually start pursuing it, you see the journey ahead of you, and it's if I want to be an astronaut, I have to go to uni and study aeronautical engineering or whatever it is, and then I have to get into NASA and I have to do this rigorous training, and there's just so many steps that people are it's not worth it anymore.
True.
It's too hard.
Then that translates to all careers. Hey, I'm trying to think of an example, but maybe it's say it's an actor. I want to be an actor because you have a favorite actor or actress when you're younger, and you're I want to do that. But then you realize all the work those people put into it,
all the auditions, all the no's that you have to get, the hard hours, the changing your body for certain roles,
and then it becomes less ideal because then it requires more work.
And what you're living in the childhood dream is just that fantasy state. This idea of I want to be floating up there in space, and everything you're envisioning is good, but the reality of it, maybe it's not that great. I'm sure the view's amazing, but maybe you miss your family, maybe you're hungry, maybe you're scared. There's so many factors that we just don't consider as kids. And
when you're 7, you're not thinking about the fact that you're you have no food, you're not thinking about anything. You're just thinking about you've seen an astronaut do that. That'd be cool to be in space. I want to do that.
And then you get the other side where people carry out these childhood dreams, or people from a young age. We were talking with Matt the other day, and he said his sister knew that she wanted to be a teacher from when she was in school, and you can almost call that a childhood dream. Definitely. For a lot of people. They go to school and they're I know I want to be a teacher. I've known since I was a kid, and so many people will see that through, and I think the kind of social norm encourages that sort of a career. Those childhood dreams are probably built up because it's like, yeah, you should go to uni after school, you should become a teacher. Like, these are normal things for people to do. Whereas if it's something like so bizarre, like I want to change the world, or I don't know, just some wild, I want to be in the NBA, something like just insane that, you know,
Like
statistically, like, you're actually not going to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. When the statistics are low, I think that's when people really just shun your dream and just try and like burn it to the ground.
Definitely.
And it takes a strong individual with a certain amount of, I guess, luck to have that dream fulfilled.
Yeah, and luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm more interested in when do people's childhood dreams like die off? You know what I mean? Like, at what point do you start being like, oh, I don't want to be that anymore? What age do you think?
And how much of it is I don't want to be that, and how much of it is society's told me I can't be that,
but that's
and
what
I
I
don't
mean.
believe in myself.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. It means I've been told I can't do it, so now I don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's led to you then making the decision.
But yeah, like
Will you see
think
that
that
separately?
no, it's separate, because I think a lot of people probably just don't want to do it. Like, their desires will change as they get older.
True, yeah.
Because they've, I don't know, where like their inspiration for being an astronaut came from them watching this TV show as a kid. As they got older, they started watching MMA, and now they want to be an MMA fighter. So I think naturally
Influences.
desires will change, but I think there probably are a lot of people that had these strong desires. Like, for me, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter, and
Sick.
I couldn't tell you what that stemmed from. Maybe it was when the firemen came to my school in primary school and showed us around the truck and stuff. Maybe it was because I knew a firefighter. Who knows what it was? But as I got older, I just naturally surrounded myself with less and less firefighting like things.
Yeah.
And more with sports, and then more with mental health, and that's where like I had the dream, I guess, to be a psychologist. So I think there's a natural progression of influences,
definitely.
and things changing. But in terms of when dreams die off, I don't know, it's such a hard thing to estimate, but I would say for most people, probably like around that kind of high school age, I think, like that year.
Definitely.
year
Why
6, year
though?
7.
Because it's like you, like I was trying to allude to before. I think we all just start to. It's just new influences where in that like gap between childhood, adult, like you're in this weird sort of space where you're not an adult but you're not a kid, and it's kind of like you have adult influences but you also have your kid influences. So it's like you kind of get confused, or
Yeah, I think people start caring too much at that point.
Yeah.
I think year 6, year 7, even earlier years is when you really start to care what other people think of you, and you're more concerned with fitting in than you are with like standing out and being yourself. People start to, it's say you have like a block of wood and we're all carved into our own shape, like we're all unique as people, and you kind of get to that age, and for me it would have been year 4 to year 6, kind of around there, where rather than embracing the shape that I was trying to like square off my edges just to look as plain and simple and like the same as everybody else as I possibly could. I think it's that age and those things that start to pull you away, because then all of a sudden, you know, if I'm the only one that wants to be an astronaut and everyone wants to, I don't know, go to uni and just do an quote unquote like normal career, part of the making myself a square is doing what they want to do, and they want to go to uni, so I want to go to uni now. So I think that would be one of the biggest factors as to why people kind of don't fulfill their childhood dreams.
another interesting part is like what your guardian or the people who raise you into the world, like parents, whether it be parents or other people, and the influence they play on like your ability to like probably create that dream. You know, like this, it means so much if your parents tell you like, oh, like I want to do this, and they're like, oh, like when you're young, then they're like, yeah, you should go do that. Like that is like such a motivating thing, and almost their role in creating that dream in your head, and then also their role in help you fulfill that. And like you mentioned before, there is people who actually go out and fulfill their childhood dreams. So for those people, like whoever raised them into the world, think of the role that they play in like manifesting that through 20, 30, 40 years of just work and like helping them go forward. I think that's quite cool too. And I haven't really thought about that because I've not experienced that, because I didn't really like fulfill any sort of childhood dream like by this point.
Did you have any?
Yeah, I've been trying to think about that as we've been talking. I think When I know what I could say from maybe like early teens, I have something to say for that. But in terms of when I was really young, shit, I think I was just such a nerd that I just wanted to be like a Jedi. Like I just wanted to be a Jedi, even though it didn't exist. Like I'd want to do that. I used to love Indiana Jones, but I don't really think I wanted to be like an archaeologist or anything like that. But I really love the idea of like, I guess every kid does that. Like they want to be the hero, but yeah, I can't think of anything that was like really particular standout. Well, you said firefighter. Was there anything else like in your early years?
Yeah, well, I have a yearbook at home, which every year, like in my primary school, we would write like your name, your height, your age, your weight, your signature, and you'd answer a few questions like who your friends are, blah blah blah, and like one of them was always, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I can't remember the specifics as to what I wrote, but I think a lot of the things that I wrote were based off those mentors in my life, the people I looked up to, and I just wanted to be like them. I wanted to do what they were doing, so I would write whatever it was that those people that influenced me were doing with their life. I wouldn't have understood like half of the jobs and the roles, but I just knew that they meant a lot to me and they were mentors and impacted my life, and I love them and I wanted to be like them.
Definitely. So yeah, I had now I think about it, actually like going into sort of high school, like pre that, but like the later years of primary school, like that was when I started really playing like footy and getting into it, like rugby union, and I wanted to be like an All Black so bad. Like we would watch it on the weekend and just I would know the haka like word for word, like all hakas, like the three that they would do, I would know them, and I would just watch it thinking that's going to be me, and just like that burning desire in you, and you, like you said, you don't know the work that's going to go into it. You have no idea.
You just want that outcome,
and you'd play on the weekend thinking that like this is where it starts. Like I'm going to be that one day, and I need to play like I'm an All Black now, like things like that.
And it's amazing how some people will see those dreams through. They'll get to an age where they can conceptualize the hard work and the time that's going to take to get to that goal.
When do you do that?
And
there comes a point where you realize, oh my God.
I think for a lot of people, in terms of the sport careers, I'd be interested to speak with some people that have had that dream since they're a kid.
Because that's persistence. That's persistence.
But I think for a lot of those guys, from a young age, like they've understood the hard work. You know, because usually most people I feel that make it in sports have some sort of like a father figure around that is driving them to keep going. Like
it goes back to the people who are raising you into the world. They probably aligned also with your childhood dream or something.
It was like Tiger Woods. I can't remember where I heard this, but his dad was so like tough on him in terms of golf, and it got to the point where his dad, they had like their training protocol and the stuff they would do, and his dad, they had a safe word like
I've heard about this.
Yeah, so they had a safe word that you would say if Tiger's dad said, if it ever gets too much, if it's ever too hard, like just you're going to say this word and we're going to stop and it's okay. And like years later when he's been super successful, he came out and said like I never said the word.
Which is crazy.
Just kept pushing.
It's almost like setting that boundary of there is a safe word, there is an endpoint if you want. It's almost like giving the temptation.
You have to give them the choice, because as they get older, they're going to realize. At a young age, they realize they feel like they have to do it because my dad's telling me to.
Yes.
So they're not doing it by their own will. But with that mindset framing, it's no. Like you can stop whenever you are in control, because when you get older and I'm gone, that motivation factor, that driving factor isn't going to be there in terms of me. It has to come from within you.
It grants control to like Tiger.
Yeah.
Because he gets to choose.
I think, and it's interesting because how much, I'd be curious to speak to him, but how much of that was like his childhood dream to be one of the best golf players in the world? How much of it was my dad, I don't want to disappoint my dad. I don't want to feel like I've failed my father and tell him I can't do it anymore.
Think about also like Tyson, Customato. That from, I think he was 12. Like
12, 13.
Yeah, 12 or 13. He took him on, and that's what we're talking about. That pivotal point of going into high school and being like a teenager, that's when the childhood dreams flop. But with Mike Tyson, like he had Customato bring him all the way through, like from 12 to whenever he passed away. I don't know when it is, but like all the way through. And that is almost like the pivoting thing. Like imagine if Tyson didn't have Cuss. Like what would happen? in that regard. You know what I mean? Like, does Tyson become who he is today, or does he not? So even just that building up of it almost takes two, because there needs to be that leader, the teacher, and then the student, but they're also both aligned with the same dream.
And I think that's where you can really highlight. I'm sure you could look at most successful athletes in the world and see the common denominator being like a strong influential factor in their life at a young age to get them to get them to the level to where they get to. That's so wrong. To get them to the successful level that they're at. And I think that's what a lot of us not lack, because we don't all need to fulfill our childhood dreams. That's not, I guess, how life is. Yeah. But for those people, I would almost think to fulfill your childhood dream, there would really have to be like a really strong influential factor, driving factor externally to get you going, because at such a young age, and even as we're older, we're so bad at doing things when nobody else is telling us to do them. Like self-motivation, self-discipline, we're all terrible at it. Terrible. Even I have a prime example of this. I, for my whole life, like took pride in that I was really self-disciplined when it came to diet and exercise and stuff like that. When I was 17 or 18, I can't remember how old, but one of my friends was in Europe for a couple of weeks, and I went and house sat at his apartment, and it was the first time in my entire life that I had been living alone for 3 weeks and had nobody telling me what to do. I had my own money, I had my own job, had my own car. I was basically independent in that sense. And the what was wild was how
shit you ate.
No, how much discipline I didn't have that I thought I had. I just went out, and I was located in a suburb where there was just takeaway all around me, and I was just getting like takeaway pretty much every night for 3 weeks. And I was just indulging in this lifestyle. And I'm so grateful it happened, because after that, I really had to like have a piece of humble pie, because I realized, wow, the only reason, like the sole reason that I've been so good my entire life is not that my parents they would always encourage me to eat healthy, but it was more the pressure I put on myself of, if I eat bad, like they're gonna think differently of me, they're gonna judge me.
But there was no consequence when you were by yourself.
But there was no consequence because I was the only one to judge myself, and I was the one doing the act. So I'm super grateful for those 3 weeks. I learned a lot about just how important it is to have your own like self-discipline.
What did we eat? I came over there once. What did we eat? I'm just trying to think. I think we cooked.
Yeah, no, you cooked. I remember you cooked steamed veg, because you cooked meal prep.
That was your one healthy meal.
Yeah. No, to be fair, like I was eating pretty healthy. Yeah. It was just dinners. It was dinners that I was like getting Indian, pizza, burger. Here's a story. I got a burger delivered to the apartment, Uber Eats, when the restaurant was literally 20 meters away from the apartment, and the burger didn't come. Like it just didn't come, didn't get delivered. Yeah. But it said it got delivered, and then I just ordered another one. So I paid for two, and I had one.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like, these were the behaviors I was partaking in. Yeah. Thinking,
oh my god,
that's so annoying, but I'm still going to do it because I want the food.
Yeah.
And just feeling minimal guilt, minimal weight about that. Until it wasn't until I removed myself from that 3 weeks later and got back to my like normal lifestyle that I was like, oh my goodness, that's dangerous. That's so dangerous. And I'm so thankful that I could come out of that. I think a lot of people get way too caught up in that.
It's so convenient now. It's so hard. But I think it's good for us in the fact that it's hard, because then it's a challenge, you know, like you need to stop yourself from just getting it all the time. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day just about like finances and stuff like that, like what they spend their money on and stuff. And they would just kept skimming over like the delivery, all the delivery that they order. And I kept coming back to it saying, well, you need to cut that out. Like that is the easiest thing to cut out in terms of like its weight, so how much it's worth. If you're getting delivery 2 or 3 times a week, that's at least $60 right there. You could cut that down by almost like 80-70%. And just like that was so clear, but it was so embedded in their lifestyle that they didn't even realize and kind of just thought it was a normal. And that's crazy to me. That is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I used to, before we started doing this stuff, I used to like, every now and again probably get it. But I think now I don't get it just purely because I'm just
delivery?
set. Yeah, but now I'm just purely set on financials.
I never. Like, besides those 3 weeks.
I didn't even know you've ever ordered Uber Eats. I was surprised.
Yeah, no, I honestly think that was the one time that I had. But it just goes to show it's so amazing. And honestly, as I think back now to my childhood and things that I would do, I do wonder how much of it was like my own like self-discipline, how much of it was just that fear of not, if I had not done it, what would my parents think of me? What would my friends think of me? When I was a kid and I used to do martial
That's
arts.
bad though. Like that's not that good. Like as in there is a healthy pressure in that.
There is a healthy pressure, but like, how do you know what it is? Because for so long I thought it was my own self-discipline until they weren't there.
Oh,
and it all
sorry, I
changed.
misread that. Yeah, okay.
So I used to do 100 push-ups, 300 sit-ups a day when I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. And
Jacked.
I would do it every single day, like without failure.
Yeah.
And again, no one's making me do it. I'm doing it myself. But had my parents not have been there, would I have done it? I don't know. I honestly, like, I want to say yes, but after experiencing those 3 weeks,
You don't know.
I don't know. I can't know.
Definitely.
So I think honestly, it'd just be so healthy for people. This is such a hard thing to do, but try like live alone for a couple of weeks, or just try set something up where you can be by yourself and just see how much of it is your own self-discipline, how much of it is like what your parents or just the people around you in your household. It's almost, it's like working out by yourself. Like there's a guy right here and he's just doing chin-ups by himself, no one's around. And like, I think go to a gym, because again, that helps when you're in a gym and there's, I don't know, 50 other people there. It helps you to work out, it motivates you, because if you're putting in half the effort, like you feel that in yourself, and then you think that everyone's looking at you being like, oh, he's not even going to failure or whatever. And none of them are thinking that because they're all focused on themselves, but it's just having that person there helps.
That is that healthy version of the pressure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, go try work out somewhere when no one's there.
That's what I was thinking about before, is the food thing, how we're talking about that. I think there is a place for delivery and stuff like that, because you can get something like a Momo bar, or there is healthy options in terms of delivery, and there is people who have a lot of responsibility, and I try to take myself out of that because I love cooking, and like you got to think about this, like we both have very stable family at home relation, like we have that, and some people put a lot of their time into their like building their wealth, so that may actually be pennies to them. So firstly, it may be pennies, and they may be spending. So a friend of ours who had that exact argument is that, why would I spend my time cooking when I could be spending my time doing something else, and someone else cooks for me? But it does matter. They need to be, that effort should be put into something productive, of course.
Yeah,
but in your case, it wasn't.
Yeah, no, like if you value yourself at more than $50 an hour or whatever it is to pay a chef and pay the delivery fee, like
Definitely.
if you can earn more money in the time that delivery is being sent to you, then do it for sure. But
that's my argument.
Most people don't do that, and most people A, don't earn that much money enough to do that, and B, most people aren't actually going to go out and do the work whilst that food's getting delivered and prepared.
That's why I wanted to make that point, is because most people would then say, oh, I value myself at that. Okay, no, there's got to be metrics in which you can actually measure, are you valued at that? Like, how much do you earn a week? What are your expenditures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? What are you trying to do? Are you in a saving mindset? Like, you really got to weigh it up and be like, am I actually worth this $20 delivery?
And what the delivery is as well, it's like, it's another step taken away. It makes life so much easier, so much more comfortable, where I feel like we've all experienced this in certain ways of life, but where getting takeaway was a treat, like driving to the shop and getting takeaway, that was such a treat for me as a kid, because we never did that because it was always home cooked meal. So on the rare occasions that happened, it was amazing. And then you add delivery in, it's like, okay, now we're getting it delivered. That changes everything up. So now the thought of driving to go and pick it up, oh, that just seems like an effort. I don't want to do that. I'd rather just eat food at home. You've now just ruined what was once such a special thing in your life. So I think just comfort. Comfort is the killer of just all good things.
Definitely.
The more you breed comfort and ease into life, yes, it serves a place because it's more efficient. Like, you're saving time, but as you said, what are you doing with that time, and how do you see it?
Definitely. I don't even know how we've tracked off heavily from childhood dreams, but Well, how did we get onto that? Oh, discipline. You were talking about discipline.
Yeah, self-discipline.
Yeah.
How I think most people that as a child, it's so important to have that kind of healthy amount of pressure for you to do things, and really try to encourage your kids to like establish a level of self-discipline. Not only your kids, but yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, and that comes down to like having like getting to the point where you can have kids. I was having a conversation with someone the other night, and they're in their 60s and late 50s, early 60s, and they were saying to me, "Oh, like you've been with your partner for 7 years. Like why? Where are the kids? Like you need to have kids. Get married, have kids now." And because they had kids when they were like 40, so they have that side of the coin, and they're saying to me, "No. While you're young, if you have someone, do it now. It's valuable. Like have it now." And my argument to him was, well, I feel like I'm not even worthy of having a kid. I feel like I need to be so much more as a human before I have that kid. I don't even know if I could facilitate my kid's childhood dream. You know what I mean? I need to be at that point. Like for my standards of being a father, I feel like I would need to be at that point.
Would you say that's kind of a metric for you or a goal? Like if you do
Yes.
have kids, like you want to know that you are going to be able to like encourage and try to facilitate their
Yeah,
childhood
100%.
dream.
Yeah, definitely. I think you just want to be whatever they need you to be. I think that's it. I would hate if I like had my kids and I couldn't be what they needed me to be for them. And that comes down to me like in the next like, medium to like 7 to 10 years putting in work to better me so that I can then be a better father. I was even out the other day running long distance, and like you really dig deep into your brain, and one of the things that came up, like, why are you out here? And it's just like literally the first thing that came up was like to be a better dad. Like that was one of the first things that came up, and I started exploring that. Like to me, that's such a important part. Like if you're gonna be a father, it's like what sort of lessons am I gonna learn now that I can then put onto my kid later on? What something I want to ask you about the childhood stuff. What dreams did you have throughout your high school years?
Yeah. Through high school, it was really the strongest one that comes to mind was just psychology.
Yep.
I don't know. I really enjoyed playing sports, but I always had this underlying lack of confidence in myself in sports, and I just never thought I would amount to anything within that area. And I just had many references to build that up upon, which is interesting because I really saw a switch when I went from playing rugby league to AFL. In rugby league, I always, again, that lack of confidence was always there. I just didn't back myself enough. And then when I went to AFL, I found that the toughness, I guess, I'd acquired and the intensity of the sport of rugby league, transitioning to AFL, I found that I was almost like tougher than the sport in a way, and I could assert that dominance, and I was like doing really well, which was references to build me up with confidence. And it was when I realized like, oh, it's just the mindset. Like I'm still versing like the same guys that are the same age and of similar body builds. Like there's nothing different. It's just a different sport and different mindset. So I was like, oh, I could actually have been playing rugby league with a lot of confidence and backing myself, and I would have done much better, obviously.
Yeah.
But
But it took you to leave it.
it took me to leave it to play another sport that was a bit, not physically easier, but just the aggression I found is a bit less in AFL. So yeah, sports were never really a big one for me in terms of like wanting to be professional, but it was more just psychology. I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a while, and I think it was kind of like year 8, year 9, year 10, like 15, 16 age that I really started thinking about being a psychologist. I just was always passionate about mental health and talking to people. One of my favorite things to do was message people about their problems, talk with people about their problems. I loved doing that. And again, I'm just starting to think about more like conforming to social norms, and people tell me I have to go to university, so well, what do I want to do at university? What do I want to do with my life? What job do I want to get? And it's like, okay, what people are telling me that I should do what I like, and I like talking to people about their problems, so what's a job in that? And someone tells you psychology, what a psychologist is, and you're like, okay, I like that. So I could like clearly see that this dream was just formed through my environment. Was it necessarily something I truly deeply desired and wanted? Hard to say, because at the time it felt like it was, but as I'm here now, I don't feel like it is. So I can't say that for sure. I definitely have a innate desire to help people, and I'm very passionate about that. But
maybe that translated through that.
But in terms of the medium that I want to help people in, I can safely say like I probably will never go to university. I'm not ruling it out, but more than likely I won't, and I can't be a psychologist if I don't go to uni. So yeah,
sick.
I didn't really have any really strong ones.
The sport stuff is interesting because we all, if you play sport, you pretty much are like, I want to play pro. Like you're always thinking about it, or dreaming about it, I guess. For me, in high school, it was funny, like, I didn't really have any sort of career path or goal, anything like that. Like, obviously I went and did economics at uni, but I really didn't want like some sort of job from. I wanted to get a job based on my skills that I learned and earned, rather than actually just getting it through the sort of way it usually goes through the system, picking up under a company and whatnot. But throughout like early high school and stuff, so like I love music, like absolutely love music. I used to play guitar when I was younger, like bits and pieces, wasn't that good. Stopped doing it because I just didn't really have the drive and passion for it. But when I was like 13, 14, 15, this is just, I don't know, I just thought of this before, like when I was sometimes like when I'd go to bed, I would, because I listened to this bunch of music all the time, and that was from a really young age and through my parents and stuff, but I would like put headphones in at night and just like listen to music for like hours, like hour, 2 hours, and just like doing a performance, like full blown.
And then singing.
No, like not singing, but like just like jamming out, like
You're
guitar,
envisioning
drums,
being a
envisioning
performer.
myself like being a performer. Like this is really young, like 13, 14, 15, like years. Like I don't know the exact years, but it was like young. And I would just have the headphones in, just jamming out, like, and I'd be like sweating, like proper sweating, just like sitting in my bed, just like jamming out and vibing it. And like I was like, damn, like maybe this is what I want to do. Like maybe like that's the sort of thing I would want to like do with my life. I was so interested in it, and I just absolutely loved it. And I feel like I reckon it was like more as well, like 16 as well, like pretty much all through the early years of high school, I would just do that like a lot of nights, go home and just jam out.
Wow.
Yeah, weird, hey? Like just so
It makes sense because you seriously love music more than anyone I know, and you're...
Yeah, like I loved it so much. I would just go and just like picture like at concerts and like even at like just small venues. I would picture myself everywhere, like big, like Wembley Stadium, like ANZ Stadium, freaking like in a pub, like everywhere. I could picture myself solo with people.
Wow.
Whack, hey?
So you lived that out.
Yeah.
And it's almost cool because you do get to live out, as with childhood dreams, you get to live out what the best version of it would look like without all the struggle.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. You said with the guitar, you said you just weren't that good at it, and you.
But that was when I was like 10.
And desire.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because, like, you could have done it. It's all about the belief. Whether you're in that mindset, and you're like,
Yes.
I can do this. I'm going to do this. You would have done it.
Mm.
But if there's that one part of you that's like, oh, this note's really frustrating, this chord's really frustrating, I can't do it, then that just sets you off on the I can't do it path.
Yeah.
So
It was more like I didn't practice enough, because you really need to practice when you start. I just didn't practice, and I didn't have any desire to practice at all. So that was what I wanted to get to the end point, but I didn't want to
you didn't want to
go
put in
through
the
the
work.
journey. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, and you're never going to get there without that struggle.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of just knew, I was like, nah, this is just pointless.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
end.
I think it is interesting, and I mean, this is a topic you could kind of talk about forever, but yeah, it's super interesting how everyone gets to a point in their life where most kids, I would say, I don't know anyone that hasn't sort of had any kind of dream as a kid, as a child throughout their
Everyone,
earlies and
surely
teens.
everyone has a dream. There's got to be some sort of science back thing on that.
And
Everyone has to have a
we
dream.
just haven't, so many of us never lived it out due to all these like reasons, I guess, and we spoke about a couple, but I think the influence is a massive on your environment and your confidence, which really comes from your environment and your references that you build up over time. But yeah, it's fascinating. I would almost think like the challenge would be try to identify what your childhood dream, almost try to live it out in some way. Like, don't, if it's being a teacher, don't like go to uni and study to be a teacher.
But just teach someone something.
Yeah, like try like just set up a little gimmick class and I don't know, teach a friend something, or just go through the struggle a bit. And then achieve the prize.
Or if you want to be a performer, take a note from my book and just like headphones in at night in bed and just jam out to your favorite songs. Like I would honestly, like I'm not kidding, like cue certain songs that I knew, like I would have genres like picked, like dude, yeah, I'm not kidding. Like it was like I used to do it all the time. It was so fun, so much fun. I'm doing that this week.
Yeah.
I'm saying it right now. I'm going home one night. I'm just gonna put the headphones in and jam out. Actually gonna go home and do that. It's the funnest thing ever. Like I genuinely enjoy it so much.
I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Try live out your childhood dream in some way.
100%. That was a good one.
Yeah.
That's us, 2G1C.
Catch you in the next one. Love you all.